be me. Proud female professor, late 30s, been teaching humanities at this mid-sized state college in Arizona for almost a decade now. I teach classes like modern social theory and gender and culture, basically the type where half the students come in expecting to be offended. And honestly, I used to love that. When I first started, the debates were wild, but in a good way. I'd walk into class with my coffee and this sense of purpose, like I was shaking up minds in this conservative town. I'd throw out a line like, "Toxic masculinity isn't just a buzzword, it's the invisible glue holding patriarchy together." And immediately, some guy in the back would raise his hand, ready to fight me on it. The veterans, the business majors, the engineering guys, they'd all jump in, quoting stats or YouTube videos trying to gotcha me. I lived for that energy. It made me feel sharp, relevant, powerful. Every class felt like a sparring match I couldn't lose. I'd even joke about it in the faculty lounge, how my classroom was like a social battlefield. My co-workers would roll their eyes. But secretly, I think they admired that I could get the students that engaged. And the guys? Even when they lost an argument, they respected me for standing my ground. We'd laugh after class sometimes. A few even said they liked that I didn't back down. It felt like I was part of something, like I was really teaching, not just lecturing. But this semester, something's off. First day back, I do my usual opener. I pick a provocative topic. The way men use STEM fields to gatekeep women. Normally, that's enough to start a small riot. But this time, silence. Just blank faces. The guys don't even look up. One's half scrolling his phone, another's staring at his notebook like it's got the answers to life on it. I pause, waiting for someone to challenge me. Usually there's at least one who'll mutter something like, "That's not true," or "You're taking that out of context." Nothing. I even nudge them a little. No thoughts? Not even disagreement? Still nothing. It's awkward. I'm standing there with all this energy, ready to go 10 rounds, and they're just checked out. I can feel it. It's not intimidation, it's disinterest. And that hits different. At first, I tell myself maybe they're tired, or it's early in the semester. So the next week, I bring up Andrew Tate. That usually gets them riled up. I literally quote him saying, "Women are property," and wait. Normally, that line lights the room on fire. The girls gasp, someone laughs, and at least one guy goes, "You're taking him too literally." Then we're off to the races. But now, nothing. A few uncomfortable smiles, one half-hearted chuckle. The rest just stare. I try to make a joke about it. Wow, no defenders of Andrew Tate today? Shocking nobody even bites. By the end of the lecture, it's quiet enough that I can hear the air vent humming. The silence feels heavy. I tell myself maybe it's a good sign. Maybe they're finally listening. But when class ends, I see two of the guys outside laughing. One's holding up his phone. I catch a glimpse of a screenshot from my slides. My quotes being shared around, captioned with a laughing emoji. It's not the kind of laughter I used to earn. It's the kind that stings. I walk back to my office thinking maybe I'm just being paranoid, but deep down, I know something's changed. It's like the fight's gone out of them, and without that, I don't even know what my role is anymore. I kept telling myself the silence in class was temporary. New semester, new group dynamics, whatever. They'd warm up eventually, but by week 3, it started feeling like a wall between me and them. So I sent out an email, this overly cheerful invite. Open office hours. Come discuss ideas, debate, challenge assumptions. My door's open. I even brought cookies because apparently that's what approachable professors do. For the first hour, nobody showed. I sat there pretending to work while the clock ticked so loud it was like the room was taunting me. Finally, 2 girls wandered in. Relief, until they said they just wanted to ask if they could turn in their essay late because they had sorority rush events. I tried steering the conversation toward the topic of the essay, something about performative femininity. They smiled, nodded, threw out a couple of vague buzzwords, and left. Then the silence again. Around 4 o'clock, one of my quieter students, Emma, knocked on the door to drop off a form. I don't even know what made me ask, but I blurted out, "Be honest with me, Emma. Why don't the guys in class participate anymore?" She froze like I'd asked her to choose sides. "I don't know," she said. "Come on," I pressed. "You can tell me." She hesitated, twisting the pen in her hand like she was deciding if she should even say it. Her eyes flicked toward the door, then back at me. "They just think it's kind of a trap, Professor." "A trap?" I laughed, but it came out too high, too light, like I was trying too hard to sound casual. She nodded, still not meeting my eyes. "Like if they say the wrong thing, you'll call them sexist or something. Or worse." She paused, then added, "Some of them think you'll report them. You know, like what happened with Ben last year." The name hit me like ice water. Ben had been one of the few who'd argued with me hard last semester, brought up studies I hadn't read, caught me in contradictions. He'd embarrassed me a couple of times in front of the class. I'd filed an official complaint against him after he'd made a snide remark I labelled harassment. It had gone to the dean. He'd ended up on probation and dropped my class. I shifted in my seat. "That's not what happened with Ben," I said automatically. "He crossed the line." Emma gave a little shrug. "Maybe. But that's how it looked to everyone else. Like, he beat you in an argument and then he was gone. Now the guys just stay quiet." I felt my face heat up. "That's ridiculous," I snapped, maybe too fast. "This is a safe space for ideas." "Nobody's punished for having opinions." She gave me this small, polite smile. The kind you give when you're not buying it, but don't want to fight. "They just don't want drama," she said softly, and then she slipped out the door like she couldn't wait to be gone. When the door clicked shut, the room felt smaller, darker. The hum of the old wall clock was suddenly loud enough to drown out my own thoughts. I sat there, staring at the stack of uncollected papers on my desk, trying to decide whether I was angry at her for saying it or embarrassed because I knew there was truth in it. That night, I tried to tell myself she was wrong, that this was just another sign of how fragile men are about being challenged, but her words stuck in my head like a splinter. They think it's a trap. The next day I stayed late in my office, the campus mostly empty. I opened old folders on my computer, student essays from 5-6 years ago. There were so many comments, back and forths, even arguments in the margins. One paper had an old email chain where a student challenged my grading, and I'd replied with 3 paragraphs defending my rubric. I remembered how alive that felt, being the one with the sharper argument, the last word. Now I couldn't even get a raised hand. I told myself I was going to fix it. I'd remind them what intellectual engagement looked like. Something bold, something structured. So right then, I started drafting an announcement for next week. Debate day, critical perspectives on gender and culture. If they were too scared to argue, I'd make them. Debate day came faster than I expected. I spent the whole week hyping it up. Flyers on the classroom door, extra credit incentives, a segment in the college bulletin. I told my students, "If you've ever disagreed with me, here's your chance." 5 minutes, open mic. No penalty for disagreement. Let's have real discourse. I thought it was generous. I thought it would work. By Thursday, only one person had signed up. Ryan. Ryan was quiet. Engineering major. Never caused problems. Never raised his hand. He sat near the back. Always polite. Always watching. I remembered giving him a B+ last semester. He'd never challenged it. just nodded and left. So I figured, fine. If he wanted his 5 minutes of fame, I'd give him the stage. He'd make some tired point about biology or tradition, I'd rebut him, the class would learn, and I'd walk away having welcomed dissent. A win-win. 15 minutes before class, he came up to me, holding a notebook and a printed copy of the debate flyer. "Hey, Professor," he said, calm as ever. "Just to be clear, you said there's no penalty for disagreeing, right?" Even if it gets heated, I gave him my practiced smile. "Of course. This is an open forum. You won't be graded on your opinion, just your presentation." He nodded. "Okay, just making sure, because last time someone beat you in an argument. Well, I think his name was Ben? That caught me off guard." My face tightened, just slightly. "That was a separate issue," I said quickly. "Ben crossed lines that weren't academic." Ryan held up his hands. "Right. Just don't want any misunderstandings?" Then he walked to his seat like nothing happened. Students started filing in, more than usual. Word must have gotten around that something was happening. I even saw a few students from other sections slip in. One kid brought popcorn. Phones were out. I should have taken it as a warning. I opened with a short speech about how important discourse was, how we learn by challenging assumptions, how I valued every viewpoint. Then I introduced Ryan. He walked up calmly, no laptop, no PowerPoint, just that little notebook and a confidence I didn't expect. "Thanks, Professor," he said, then turned to the class. "I wanted to talk today about something simple: tradition. The idea that some roles, values, and expectations exist not because they're oppressive, but because they work. A few people shifted in their seats. He wasn't loud. He didn't posture, but he had control. I think men and women are different," he continued, "and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's okay if some guys want to provide. It's okay if some women want to raise kids. I don't think that makes them brainwashed or victims of patriarchy." He paused, looked around, "and I don't think masculinity is toxic just because it's masculine." I felt myself clench. I wanted to interject, but I told myself, "Open forum? Let him hang himself." He flipped a page in his notebook. "Last week, Professor said that STEM fields are the last safe space for fragile masculinity. I don't think that's fair. Most of us in STEM are just trying to solve problems. We're not hostile to women. We're just not interested in gender politics in our classrooms. We like logic, structure, clarity." I could feel the room tilting, heads nodding, even the girls. My throat tightened. He continued, "I've looked at some of the claims made in this class. Gender pay gap, male privilege, institutional power. But when I ask for the other side, there isn't one. It's treated as settled. And when guys try to argue, we're told we're fragile. Or worse, aggressive." Now he turned slightly, looking toward me, respectfully, but firm. "I don't think that's education. I think that's performance." The room was dead silent. Phones out, recording. I finally spoke, forcing a chuckle. "Ryan, you're implying that my class isn't open to discussion. That's not true. You're here now, aren't you?" He nodded. "I am. And I appreciate it. But let's be honest, no one else signed up. And it's not because they all agree with you. It's because they're scared I stiffened." "Scared of what?" "Of losing," he said. "Not the argument, the grade. The respect, maybe even the right to speak." I let out a breath. "Ryan, if that's how you've felt, then perhaps you haven't been listening." I challenge everyone equally. He held up a copy of an old lecture slide. I recognized it instantly. "You said debating feminism is like debating gravity. Only fools try." That was in week 2. The room shifted again. I'd forgotten that line. I narrowed my eyes. Ryan, that was a metaphor. You're twisting my words. He didn't even blink. Maybe. But I think your students took it literally, and they adjusted accordingly. I raised my voice a little. You think tradition is some flawless ideal? That it's never hurt anyone? That just because something is old, it's automatically good? He stayed perfectly calm. No. I just think throwing out everything that built civilization is arrogant and dangerous. If we dismantle all of it, what do we build in its place? Hashtags and feelings. There were chuckles now, a few louder than others. I felt my face flush. So you're saying patriarchy is good? That men should lead and women should serve? That's what you're defending? I'm saying people should be free to choose, without being shamed for choosing roles you don't like, he answered smoothly. If a woman wants to be a CEO, great. If she wants to raise her kids full-time, also great. But if a man says he wants to lead, suddenly it's toxic? I tried to cut him off. That's not what feminism... But he didn't raise his voice, just looked at me. Then maybe feminism needs to listen more and label less. Applause. Real, actual applause. It started with a few students, then spread. Even some of the girls clapped. One student muttered, "Damn," just loud enough for everyone to hear. I stood there, hands clenched at my sides, trying to hold a smile that felt frozen. Thank you, Ryan. Thought-provoking perspective. He nodded, returned to his seat. I stood in front of the class, heart pounding, throat tight. I could feel the control slipping out of my hands like sand. I tried to salvage it. I asked if anyone else wanted to speak. Silence. Just side eyes and small smirks. I dismissed class early. As the students filed out, a couple stopped to shake Ryan's hand. One of the business majors clapped him on the back. A girl told him he should speak more often. He just smiled and shrugged like it was nothing. Back in my office, I sat at my desk, still flushed, still replaying it in my head. I opened my laptop and someone sent me the clip already posted on a campus meme Instagram page. Ryan versus feminist prof. No contest. The caption read, "He didn't raise his voice. He didn't get mad. He just won." And I had nothing to say back. After debate day, I told myself I could move on. Pretend it didn't get to me. Pretend it wasn't personal. But it was. Ryan had embarrassed me, not just in front of my class, but in front of other faculty, the internet, the whole damn campus. And the worst part? He didn't even seem smug about it, just calm, untouchable. So I did what I'd told myself I'd never do. I found a reason to knock his grade. His paper was fine, not brilliant, not bad. But I marked it low on depth of critical analysis, added vague notes about failing to incorporate intersectional frameworks, and gave it a C+. I figured he might push back, maybe email me to challenge it, but he didn't. He did something worse. A week later, one of the girls from class, Sarah, stopped by during office hours. She looked awkward, fidgety. "I just wanted to let you know," she said. "Ryan showed us his grade. He's telling everyone you punished him for the debate." My stomach dropped. "That's ridiculous," I said. His paper lacked depth. She didn't argue. She just nodded and said, "He said he expected it. Said he just wanted people to see it for themselves." Then she left. By Friday, my inbox had 3 emails from students saying they were dropping the class. 2 mentioned bias. 1 flat out said they didn't feel comfortable participating anymore. By the end of the weekend, 6 more had withdrawn. Monday morning, I got called into the department chair's office. He was polite, too polite. Offered me coffee, closed the door gently. Then he opened with, "We need to talk about student morale." I tried to stay composed. "If this is about the debate clip," he held up a hand. "This isn't just about one moment. It's about patterns. We've had students raise concerns about grading fairness, about feeling silenced, about the overall environment. I sat stiffly, clutching the arms of the chair. They just don't like being challenged. He gave me a tired smile. Or maybe they don't feel heard. You've had more drops than any other class this semester. The dean's office is noticing I open my mouth to push back, but he cut me off gently. Look, no one's accusing you of anything formal, but next semester we're reassigning your seminars. You'll be on general ed lectures only. Lower impact. Fewer complaints. It was a demotion. Not on paper, but everyone would know. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. I left the office feeling like I'd just been hollowed out. Later that week, I saw Ryan outside the engineering building, surrounded by a few classmates, some laughing, others just nodding along. I wasn't close enough to hear what they were saying, but one of the girls turned and looked at me. Her smile dropped. The group went quiet as I passed. It was over. I wasn't feared. I wasn't respected. I was just there. Background noise on a campus I used to stir. The final sting came when I opened the updated enrollment list for spring semester. My name wasn't on any of the upper-level courses. Not a single seminar. Just 2 sections of Intro to Social Concepts, both half full. That Friday, I met James, an old colleague from the philosophy department, for a drink. One of the few who never minded my sharpness. We used to joke about students, debate grading rubrics, trade gossip about adjuncts. I always felt like an equal with him. Respected, maybe even admired. Now, I was the one under quiet judgment. We met at a bar near campus, tucked into the corner. I gave him the rundown. The silence in class, the debate day, Ryan, the grade backlash, the admin warning. I tried to keep my voice even, but I could hear the defensiveness creeping in. When I finished, I asked, "Do you think I was too hard on them?" James took a sip of his beer and said, "I think you've always needed to be right." I bristled. "So I'm not allowed to stand by my principles now?" "You are," he said. But at some point it stopped being about the ideas and started being about you winning. Especially with students like Ben and Ryan, you challenged them, then punished them when they didn't back down. "That's not true," I snapped. He raised an eyebrow. "You say you want debate, but only if it ends in your favor." I didn't respond. He leaned forward. "What's the point of teaching if the conclusion's already written before the question's asked?" I looked away. "It's not about me." He gave a soft, tired laugh. "That's what everyone says." Right before it absolutely is. Silence sat between us. The TV was playing muted sports. Students passed outside the window. I finally said, "I used to feel alive when they argued with me. And now? Now it's like shouting into a void. I throw sparks and nothing catches." He nodded. "Maybe the fire burned out." "No," I said, sharper than I meant to. "They're the ones who quit. If they actually believed in their views, they'd keep fighting." "Or maybe," James said quietly, "they realized it was never a real fight, just a rigged game." I stiffened. "That's what men do. They always expect to win." He looked at me, measured. "So what happens when they stop trying?" I didn't answer, because deep down, I already knew. I still believed in the fight, but maybe I'd stopped believing they were ever allowed to win it.